Ready to learn to get rid of stress in your life? To learn how to deal with the emotional turmoil that causes strokes, heart attacks, bad health, and even weight gain? Life-changing habits for work, family, and everyone you deal with start here with Andrew Wittman. It's time to get warrior tough. Here's Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman.
All right, we are back at it. It's Get Warrior Tough, the most monumental hour in media anywhere. We are your leadership and mental toughness coaches, Andrew Wittman and the Dutch Coleman.
What's happening, everybody?
Dutch, I am so excited, dude. I get to see you in about 4 days.
Amen, brother. We'll be on that road as what was it, Willie Nelson, on the road again?
On the road again. Wait, we're not listening to that, are we? I love Willie, but we haven't even discussed what the playlist is on the drive down. I could see there could be a little bit of I don't know, man. We like a lot of the same stuff, so.
Yeah, well, I'll throw some hip hop in there to scare
you.
Yeah,
I love it. No, man, that don't scare me. You know, I love me some, Little John, and I love that Florida guy. You turn me right around Florida. He's so awesome. Boots with the fur, Florida. That guy, I love it. Every time I see it, my little girl's like, "It's Flo Rida." I'm
this is going to be hilarious. Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'll document every moment of it for the people.
Yeah, we need to have like GoPro cams on the dashboard, and we could sell this thing to like Discovery or something, man. That's too funny. All right. Hey, if you want to join the conversation on Twitter, use the hashtag #GetWarriorTough. And of course, Dutch, as always, he is at the Dutch Coleman, and I am at WarriorToughPhD. Go to the website GetWarriorTough.com. Find a handle, hook on. You go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff. Dutch, we got a fantastic show lined up for tonight. We have a super secret surprise, which we're going to, let that cat out of the bag here in just a second. But I'm very excited about. We have a special guest tonight.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I get a chance to listen to this person speak, man, I'm blown away by the experiences. The knowledge, everything, man. I'm always blown away.
You callers on the line?
Yeah, and so it's Lieutenant Colonel John Folchetti. You guys have heard the show before. He's my leadership mentor. Colonel, are you there?
I are, Whit. How are you tonight?
Oh, awesome, man. I'm so excited, again, to hear you. And I don't know if you've met Dutch in person, but so Dutch Coleman, he's a Clemson grad. And he's also got his master's from Penn State, and he's kind of up in Penn State, so he's closer to you than I am, actually.
How you doing?
All about you today, Dutch. How are you?
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure. I'm doing well. I've heard you speak before on Andrew's show, and I've enjoyed every moment of every time I've heard you speak.
Well, I'm happy to be able to talk to you. It is a pleasure to meet you.
And Dutch's dad was a Marine, so he was raised right. I'm just saying.
Semper Fi, man.
Absolutely.
All right, so listen, I'm so excited to have you on, Colonel, because there's like there's probably less than 5 people on the planet that I'll say it like this, like if you like said something to me to give me a course correction, I would actually like take it very seriously, like no matter what you said right out the gate, because you were the one that brought me up from the time I was a little pup. So there's like 5 people that I really, I always say I don't care what people think. There's really like 5 people that I really do care what they think, and you're one of them, man. So I'm very excited to hear. Yeah.
Whit, I'm delighted to be on the show, but it bothers me to find out that I'm still playing second fiddle to your wife.
Yeah.
I know she's ranking.
Yeah, no.
She's either 1 or 2.
Right. No, she is, because, well, and I knew her before I knew you, in all fairness. I did meet her like 2 years before I met you, so we were, she's got seniority.
I'll buy that. Yeah, I'll buy that.
All right, so, okay, so this is my 3rd book that came out, and, but you got the book this week, and you read it. I always want to know what you think, and listen, you can rip me, it's okay. I mean, I'll cry a little bit off the air, but I'll hit the cough button when I'm crying. But yeah, so you got the book, and I wanted to hear your thoughts, and I thought we would have this discussion because you sent me an email, and I kind of, I love hearing your take on stuff. It's just like it's amazing. So I would like you to just kind of like, give the folks your take on it. Well,
I'm honestly only halfway through it in any level of detail, so I'm gonna use that as part of a way out here. But there's a couple of points that I pulled out of it that I think are of real value. And early on in the book, you posed this question about how would I do it, and a lot of people, I think, read that. I did at least 3 times with the emphasis on the word I. And it took me till about the 4th time to read it within the context of what you were saying about here's an impossibility, but suspend your disbelief. And the emphasis in that particular statement needs to be on the word do, not I.
Yeah.
And I was posing that over in terms of a couple of objectives that I have that every time I look at it, I go, Jesus, I can't do that. There's no way for me to get from where I'm at now to where I want to be in terms of, I don't know, buying a 1,000-acre quail plantation in South Carolina or Georgia. Okay. And I kept saying, how would I can't get there, but I didn't put the emphasis on the word do. So within the first 4 or 5 pages of reading this, you forced me, who is theoretically, or by your statement, your mentor,
yeah, absolutely,
to refocus my thought process. So there's some real value there. The go build something component, which follows very, very closely to the how would I do it piece. You talk about having releasing your creative instincts there, but later on in the book, you give several examples of how police officers typically die within 3 years of losing their identity.
Right.
And I've always never tied that off to police officers, but I always tied it off to old Marines, because I can't count the number of old retired guys who are nothing but Marines for 30 or 35 years who died very shortly after retiring because there was nothing, they had never done anything else and didn't have something else in the pipeline at the end of their retirement. And in your build something statement, in that discussion, you talk about releasing your creative influences and having a hobby that is creative, even though you go on to state that you don't have to have a hobby.
Right.
You have to have something, I believe, that gives you an outlet, a creative outlet for what's inside of you. And it doesn't even have to go beyond your own workshop or your own basement or wherever you do these things. But it's immensely valuable both on the journey, which is really what this book is about, right? It's a journey about getting from where you are to where you want to be.
Yep.
But having someplace else to go besides the journey itself, it can be important. I think that in your case, your creativity comes out as part of the journey because it's part of your process. And the radio show, the writing of the books, and the entire process about being a coach is where your creative instincts lie.
Right.
But I think that something that gives you a creative outlet, if you don't have it as part of your day-to-day functioning, your day-to-day process to move yourself forward, is equally important. So I'm not taking you to task on that, but for the people who are listening, for me, it's a release. It's the place where I go to get rid of the day-to-day frustration of pursuing the dream as I'm currently chasing it. So
I love that.
Pitch in and ask me a question here.
Yeah. Dutch, do you have something for him? Because I don't want to just step on top of you, man.
No, I'm good. I'm listening. I'm trying to listen to the conversation so I can get caught up on some of the experiences that you guys had, so I can kind of chime in, because I'm really waiting to hear of some of the applications, some of the stories, as people might say, but some of the experiences related to the book from his point of view. So I'm really just a kid in a candy store right now.
Yeah, and I will say, and you go ahead, Colonel.
That's fair enough from Dutch's perspective. I think that You had a quote in here from Babe Ruth that I'm looking for right now. Is about something about every time I strike out, I learn a lesson, or
I get closer to the next home run. Yeah, it's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that, to go back to what Dutch just said, right, that then begs the question, because Ruth is in that quote is exhibiting something that he learned in an unstated fashion from every failure that he had at the plate. Because his failures got him closer and closer to the next step. And as a businessman, right, as a guy who just sold his own business and who has been in the up and down column on this thing like a sine curve over 2.5 decades, I think that the thing that you learn the most from failure is don't quit and keep moving forward and redefine success in whatever measure is necessary to move yourself forward. Because there's days, and you kind of talk about this too in the booklet, where you have failures and things just look as dark as as it can possibly be. But those failures give you another step in the path that allows you then to pick yourself up and go, all right, I learned something from that. And you have to define them for yourself.
Right. And let me ask you this. Can I ask you this question? Now, because when you do have those failures, like you said, on that up and down curve, don't those, and see, for me, I take those failures, not only are the internal driver that makes me go forward, but those are the things that make me, the person that I am. We call them in psychology a desirable difficulty. Of course, we wouldn't wish them on anybody, but when you go through the fire and you're tried, isn't that kind of what we do in the Marine Corps? We kind of dial that up, when we put people into like boot camp or TBS. Don't we dial that up and give them the desirable difficulty and give them, ways to make to come through the fire?
Absolutely. I mean, we plan those difficulties in training and at boot camp and in whatever school you're in and in whatever training evolution you're in. We plan those difficulties on purpose. And then depending on how we handle those difficulties, this goes directly to what you said about defining your success. And that's how Ruth defined his. But then you have to refine it and build on it. So if you can analyze the failure and get over it, or even not necessarily a failure, but simply falling short of a goal, even though possibly you're halfway there, it gives you the tool then to refine your definition of success and say, all right, maybe that wasn't a failure, it was just half a success, and then continue to build on that so that the path is, even though some days it's one step forward and 2 steps back, over the course of a year or 5 years or a decade, that you've moved forward from where you are now and can see yourself further along towards that objective than what you can. And a lot of our training evolutions look exactly like that.
Right. So it kind of prepares us, right? Doesn't it? It prepares us for when we get hammered like that. Right. So, and then I would just kind of wrap that in with what you said about the hobby. When you come in and you're kind of like, you're coming off of, you got beat down, when you kind of got beat down a little bit, then you could go use the hobby to, do the release and kind of heal up so we can move forward again. Listen, we're up on a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Get Warrior Tough radio show with Dutch Coleman, Andrew Wittman, and a special guest, Lieutenant Colonel John Folchetti, USMC, retired.